Okay, so today we're going to be discussing some beer terminology. We're going to start off with two very important ones in the beer universe. It's going to be a beer's IBU and a beer's ABV. So to start off with a beer's IBU, IBU stands for International Bitterness Units. This is used to determine a beer's bitterness or hoppiness. So typically that scale or that range starts at 0 and goes all the way to 120. It can surpass that, but it typically won't. To use some beers as examples, Coors Banquet is an American-style lager. This is going to range between 5 and 15, fairly low on that scale. You're going to get little to no hoppiness or bitterness. If we're talking about an IPA, such as a West Coast, we are typically going to be in that 50 to 75 range. So that's going to give you a little bit more bitterness. There are substantial hops used in these beers. And of course, it's going to get hoppier the higher you go up. If you're going to get into a DIPA, a double IPA, or a triple, these are going to be more bitter typically. Now to talk about our ABV. ABV stands for alcohol by volume. So this is a measure of your alcohol content in either your beer, or your liqueurs, your spirits. So like I had mentioned, it's a measurement in percentage. So if you look at the base of any can that you purchase at an LCBO or a liquor store, you're going to have your measurement for the can, and then beside that, your percentage. So for this one, for the Coors Banquet, it's 5%. Then beside that says alc/volume. So that's going to be your alcohol content. You can find this again on any bottle or can of alcohol. So typically when we're talking beers and their classifications, when we get into an American style lager, like I said, this one is 5%. It's going to fit in that 4.1 to 5.1% range. When you're talking about an IPA, which is a juiced up version of this, it's a Bubble Stash IPA. When you talk about your Imperials, they're going to be a little bit higher. They're going to be a little bit more strong. So that's going to be between a 7.6 and a 10.6. All right, so to continue our beer knowledge journey, we're going to be discussing a few terms that relate to kind of how beer is made. So first off, we're going to be talking about fermentation, then we're going to be talking about hops, then we'll be discussing malt, and then finally yeast. Just a couple things we have to discuss because when we go further down in the training process, we're going to be discussing different classifications of beer, and I'll be mentioning each one of these terms probably at some point, some shape, some form. So to get into it, here we go. So we're going to be starting off by discussing our fermentation process. So this is usually done by converting our sugars and our glucose into alcohol or carbon dioxide. This is done via heat and yeast. Although sugars can be formed from other cereals and plants, usually malted barley is our primary source of sugar, and this is used in most brewing circumstances to form our traditional beers. Along with other sugars and traditional flavorings, most notably hops, these ingredients also provide a proteinous compound which together produces the alcohol, flavorings, and aromas that are characteristically in beer.